Hi there, I'm Michael Lydon. I'm a meditation teacher here in Ipswich, and I specialize in a form of meditation called realization process. Realization process is a body-focused pathway for both what we could call spiritual awakening, which means stabilization little by little into an ongoing experience of inner peace. And it's an inner peace that we can experience through our whole being, our whole body. First, we can start to experience this in the background when we're doing meditation exercises. And little by little, we can experience this as an ongoing experience, just in our ordinary, every day-to-day consciousness. So realization process is a body-focused method of meditation for spiritual awakening, or that finding of inner peace within ourselves, as well as psychological healing. So in this paradigm, we could say, or this approach to meditation, this feeling of inner peace and psychological healing, those are really two sides of the same coin, okay? So let me just explain this a little bit. And by the way, if you want more information on this method, you can feel free to visit my website, realizationconsulting.com, or you can visit my teacher, Judith Blackstone's website. Her website is realizationprocess.org. In any case, we can say that our body acts as a kind of registry for all the experiences that we've picked up in life. And we could say it holds emotional memory, it holds trauma in a lot of cases as well. And as we learn to relax and find a place that's very deep within, sometimes we can bump into some of those things that we may have experienced along the way. And as we can maybe focus on some of those difficult experiences or memories at the same time that we experience this deep space of inner peace within ourselves, those constrictions, or places that we can feel as constrictions of sensation, of energy, of content that's held in the body as rigidness or gripping or tension of sorts, as we can focus on that and focus on this nice still space at the same time, those tensions and holding patterns in the body can gradually unwind. And that's a big part of this method as well. So we could say that at the cornerstone of this method is an experience that we could call fundamental consciousness. I don't want that to sound too highfalutin. Fundamental consciousness just means that there's this sense of the deepest aspect of our aliveness, which we could say is an experience of love, meaning like this, you could say emotional, spiritual warmth that we feel through our whole being, and that we feel connects us to all other beings, all of life, animals, plants, and you name it. And we can feel this quality through our whole being and all around us at the same time. Okay, so one aspect of this quality that I'm calling fundamental consciousness, or this domain of being I'm calling fundamental consciousness, is this aspect of love. Another aspect is the sense of awareness, right? So sometimes, especially when we're maybe out in nature or moments of deep reflection or contemplation, we can feel a sense of just this pristine clarity, right? Like maybe we even have moments of no thought, right? Where our mind goes quiet. And this is another aspect of this inner state of fundamental consciousness. A lot of times in spiritual literature, this is simply referred to as stillness. Sometimes it's referred to as Buddha nature. If somebody who were in a Western religious context were experiencing this, they might call it the divine ground of being or something like that. And there's a very deep serenity that we can feel into in this space. Another aspect would just be a sense of openness. There's almost a physicality to it that we feel as a type of openness of being. And we can feel this openness through our whole system, and this type of a very fine, we could even say it almost has like a mental texture to it. I'm hoping that's not sounding too abstract, but we can think about it for now as an openness, right? So openness, love, warmth, deep spiritual, emotional love and warmth, and consciousness. Okay. Also, and so just circling back to this notion of physicality and texture. although it's not a physical experience, not a texture that we can grab when we're talking about this space of fundamental consciousness or stillness, there is something that feels very rooted about it. Realization process is a body-focused pathway towards spiritual awakening, psychological healing. When we're talking about a body-focused pathway, why is that, right? What's the rationale behind a body-focused pathway towards spiritual well-being? And for me, that made sense because of this. If we talk about this domain of fundamental consciousness, which is what many different meditation techniques are geared towards, for instance, transcendental meditation, mindfulness, all these different practices are trying to find this still space within. And the aspects of stillness or fundamental consciousness, we could say there's a quality of emptiness and a quality of beingness. Emptiness means sheer transparency, lightness, luminosity, transparency. Beingness means presence, aliveness, but it's an aliveness that feels deeper than the ordinary movements of the mind. So it feels like a still space, but it feels like aliveness, right? Being present. We can all recall periods of our life or moments in our life where we felt very present, or we felt especially present with something that was happening. And there's just a quality of aliveness that comes with that presence. For instance, you couldn't say, oh, that person over there who looks so dissociated from themselves, they look so alive, right? That sentence in English just would not make any sense. So there's a part of aliveness that's just related to our overall well-being. So we can't actually experience this depth of aliveness without also experiencing and being present through the very instrument of our aliveness, which is our body. So that's why this body-focused pathway for meditation made sense. Also, since realization process works with constrictions in the body that are due to holdings of emotion, holdings of content, maybe memory, or sometimes shame, or just other things that we go through in our lives, that to me was quite helpful, especially because for me personally, I used to be a brain on a stick. I majored in philosophy when I was my undergrad, and then some years later, I went back to school for social work. I'm certified as a social worker, but I work as a meditation teacher. But in any case, I feel like this method was really pivotal in helping me become, to be filled in a little bit more and not just be a brain on a stick. Okay, so let's I know that this can sound like a lot of information. I don't want to overwhelm anybody. And I think it's important just to be able to do some demonstrations of this so we can feel into how it works. So first thing, let's do an exercise. You can come sit up for this, or you can lie down. Doesn't matter. You can have your eyes opened or closed. Doesn't matter. And you can just rest your hands on your lap or rest them on your legs. You can be face up, face down. Either of those are okay. All right. First part of this exercise, we're going to just be aware of our hands, right? Okay, so you can feel your hands there resting on your lap or resting on your legs, and just be aware of your hands. We might notice different sensations that we're having. We might notice temperature. We might notice air currents. We might notice our heartbeat. Any other sensations. And we're just being aware of our hands. Okay, good. Second part of this exercise. Now, in addition to awareness, we're going to become present. Okay? So one of the ways that we can do this is feel that we're filling in our hands from the inside with our sense of presence. So let's see if we can do this. So you can think about the surface of our skin as a glove, and that we're really filling in that glove from the inside with presence. Okay, let's take a few moments to do this. if this is challenging for you in any way, or if it doesn't quite feel different than the last exercise that we did, or the first part of the exercise, what you can do is feel into how you would focus in your hands, just gently, to make them glow. If you wanted to make your hands glow very softly with light, or you could also think of what you would do to have your hands generate heat. How would you focus into your hands to have them generate light or heat, whichever you pick? This is not, we're not visualizing light, although if we have a visual impression of light, that's fine. We're not actively visualizing anything. We're feeling this light radiate from within our hands. There's a feeling quality to this. Okay, good. If we need if we need any other pointers on what we're doing here, if you didn't quite feel that you had a sense of presence there, here's one more thing that we can do. So you can put your hands together like this. Okay. So what we're going to do is feel where our right hand is meeting our left hand. And so we're going to just feel the sensations of contact from within our right hand. Okay. So just pay attention to what your right hand is feeling, but from the inside. You could say that one part of being present is attentiveness to feeling from within. When we pay attention to the inner sensations of our body, this is a sense called interoception, and realization process relies heavily on this sense because there's a lot of subtle sensations that have to do with how we kind of hold ourselves, how we hold tension in our body. And if we pay close attention, we can sort of feel around us in terms of how to release that tension and how to become more present. Okay, so just focusing on the contact of our left hand upon our right hand and feeling from within our right hand. Good. And now feel from within your left hand. As you switch your locus of attention here, notice if you feel something leave your right hand a little bit. And now whatever that something is in your left hand. We could say that this is our sense of presence. So now we're present in our left hand and we're feeling the sensations of contact with our right hand from within our left hand. So just feeling present in our left hand. Good. And now let's be present in both hands at once. So feel the sensations of contact from within both hands at the same time. Okay, and let's relax. Okay, so what did you notice in terms of being aware of versus present through? A lot of the feedback that I tend to get on this exercise is that just being aware of is a top-down experience. There's a little bit of distance between me and my body, between my sense of awareness and my sense of beingness. Being present as the internal space of our body is more of a first-person experience versus a third-person one, right? There's a continuity between our sense of consciousness, our sense of being, our sense of presence, and it's all kind of one thing. There's not this inner distancing, okay? And so this is an important first step because a lot of exercises that we're going to be doing have to do with this sense of felt presence through the internal space of the body. Okay, good. So, understanding this notion of being present and feeling our beingness in the internal space of our body, here's another little exercise we can do. And this is an exercise that we can do to help still our mind of thoughts. And one of the principles in realization process is that we can find the depth of our body, or we can find depths of focus and depths of presence through the internal space of our body that we could say already have more stillness, or already have certain qualities that we can start to feel into. So for instance, so here's a little exercise that we can do to still our mind. Okay. And I would say that this is an exercise not for holding our mind still, but for finding a place that is already a bit more quiet. Okay? Good. So let's find where our consciousness lives. And for most people, I'm pointing to my temples here because most people feel it right in their temples here. When I say where our consciousness lives, I mean where we feel our focus looking out from, or where we feel our consciousness looking out from. So for most people, it's here. It's like in our temples, or maybe like right behind our eyes. See where you feel that is for you. Okay, good. Where are you looking out from? And so again, we're using this sense of interoception. We're finding these subtle bodily sensations in terms of even how our focus is organized in our body. Good. Okay. So let's close our eyes. And second part is that we're going to feel into the internal space of the head. Okay. And if this is a challenge for any of you to do, what you can do is you can put one hand on your forehead and one hand back here. And you can just gently scan back and forth. So like if you can think about your sense of awareness like a little ping pong ball, and the ping pong ball is going back and forth between each hand. And it's gently moving back and forth. Okay? And little by little, we can rest our hands and just continue that back and forth movement so that we can start to feel that there's space inside our body. When we're feeling the internal space of our body, it's not that we literally feel bone or brain matter or anything like that, but we're somehow feeling a quality of presence that's distributed through our body, and sensation, inner sensation that's distributed through our body from the inside. And it seems that even through the internal space of our head and our brain, where there's no nerve endings, we can feel subtle senses of constriction or openness or spaciousness, or and there's all sorts of fine sensations that we can begin to feel. Okay, good. And so this is just a little trick we can do to just feel that there's depth there. There's depth distributed front to back. Okay, good. So next part, let's imagine that there's a line drawn between both ears. So just find the centers of your ears and feel that there's a line between both ears. Okay, good. Now, just like you did before, you can scan back and forth, up and down a little bit, left to right, and just find where the center of that line is that's between your ears. And allow your consciousness or your focus to settle on that line, such that you feel like you're just resting there. Your focus is gently poised in this space that's right in the center of your head, between your ears. Okay, good. As you're resting there, notice if you can feel as to whether your mind is just a little more quiet than it normally is. Have your thoughts slowed down at all? Okay. Yeah, good. And one thing that I've noticed, maybe you notice it too, is that when we start to have conscious thoughts, we can kind of get pulled forward. And I don't know why exactly that is. It might have to do with the fact that um, executive functioning, conscious verbal thought, has something to do with the prefrontal cortex, planning and organizing. That has something to do with the frontal cortex and prefrontal cortex. But I don't know. For the time being, let's just enjoy the fact that when we're poised in the center of our head, our thoughts calm down a little bit. Or we can feel into this space that already has stillness to it. Notice we don't have to grip our mind in any way. We just have to relax back a little bit, relax our focus. Okay, good. So, third part, we're going to take this a little bit further, okay? So, in the same way that you've rested into the center point of your head, the space between your ears, rest a little bit further back now. So feel that you're resting towards the back of your brain. And if you want, you can imagine that there's a little chair back there, maybe a lounge chair, reclining chair, and that you're resting back into this space in the back of your brain. Okay. So, yeah, with your eyes closed, just rest back there. And take a moment to rest into this space in the back of your brain. What did you notice? So maybe we notice what's absent, and what's absent back there is a lot of the verbal conscious thought, right? So, and did we have to do anything to get to that quiet space? No, not really. We didn't have to hold our mind still. We relaxed into a space that already has some stillness to it, or that already is quiet to a greater degree. A lot of times what people experience also when they focus back there is sort of this upward sense of openness, an upward sense of energy or pulsation, flow, kind of an open feeling that rises upward through the body. Maybe you experience that too. That's normal. So sometimes if we experience sensations of what some people call energy, and by the way, when I talk about energy, I'm just talking about sensations of pulsation, flow, vibration, things like that we can feel through our body. Sometimes we can feel those same vibrations in different ways from other people or from nature. But energy for right now is just, we're talking about it as an experience, right? And so we can feel this energy coming upward through our body if we relax our focus back there. Okay, good. So let's come back. So this is just one exercise to demonstrate how when we organize our focus in different ways in our body, it can change the way that we experience the world, or it can change our experience, basically. And I think that's the premise of many different types of meditation, that if we learn to focus in different ways, we can change our experience. All right, let's do another exercise now. So we did an exercise to find the space of stillness. And now we're going to do another little exercise to find another quality in our body, okay, or another quality through the internal space of our body. So I'm going to invite you to, in the same way that you were present through your hands, to become present through the internal space of your chest. So we're feeling our lungs, we're feeling the expansion and release of our chest cavity, we're feeling our rib cage expand and contract. And we're experiencing all of that from within. Okay. Just become present through the internal space of your chest. Being present, by the way, so let me get a little more specific as to what that means. Some of my students have asked me in the past, well, when you say be present, are you talking about being present like the air in a balloon, or is it more like the light in a light bulb? And the answer is it's more like the light in the light bulb. For instance, when we become present through the internal space of our chest, or any part in our body for that matter, we might kind of notice this glow of presence that seems to extend beyond the body as a feeling sense that we have. And so it's not like we have to constrict ourselves to be present only to the boundary of our skin. We can be present almost like light is in a light bulb, where it just shines through. We kind of have this feeling of transparency to ourselves when we do that, when we become present in that way. Okay. So just being present through the internal space of our chest. As we do that, we might notice that we kind of light up a little bit from within. There's a feeling of openness, lightness, right? Mild sense of pleasure that arises with that. Okay, and all of that's normal. That's what's supposed to happen. We might also become aware of points of constriction, and that's fine. That's also normal. Okay, if you're feeling a little bit of constriction just as you're being present, totally fine. If the constriction is painful, what you can do is find a place that's a little bit deeper, right? So let's do this now. See if you can feel the space that's behind your lungs. Okay, so we can feel the expansion and release. We can feel that expansion and release as we breathe. And let's feel a space that feels like it's behind that sense of expansion and release, a space of stillness that's behind our lungs, that's in space behind our lungs, that doesn't move. You can still feel some aliveness there, some presence, openness, stillness. And it doesn't move. This space is still, space behind our lungs. Okay. So, as you find that space, do you notice that there's a little bit of relief from any tensions that might be in your body or in your chest specifically? This is one little thing that we can do to feel a little bit more centered and present. Resting back there in the space deep within, it's like if you can think about the core space of the body, the core vertical space, that's where we're resting into. And we're becoming present from that point. Right? Okay. Yeah, so just becoming present through the chest from the inside out. As we do that, let's do the following. Here's the next step. Okay, so close your eyes for this. And staying present through the internal space of your chest, think about someone or something that inspires a feeling of love. It can be a person that you admire, a family member that you care about deeply, a loved one, a beloved pet, a cute animal. It can be anything. Right? Something that inspires love, quality of love, feeling of love. Good. Take a minute just to notice what that feeling is like. Maybe you notice the internal space of your chest just light up a little bit. Maybe you can feel a spark, something deep within starting to light up. Just notice how you register that, how your body registers that quality of love. Good. Okay, now let the image go, right? So we could say that when we're contemplating an image and feeling the quality of love, it's almost like we're shining a light on something. And if we dial that back a little bit, not dial it back, but trace back that light to its source and just feel a more diffuse or It's like we're not shining a spotlight, but it's a floodlight now, right? We're just feeling the quality of love without a specific object. We're feeling the quality of love just through the internal space of our body or through the internal space of our chest. So whatever lit up when we were contemplating the object of love, whatever we were feeling love towards, now we're just feeling that through the internal space of our chest. Okay. So there are a few qualities that we can notice here. And so let's go through them bit by bit. And these are just some of the nuances of this quality of love that seem to be present. One is a sense of warmth. And we can describe this as an emotional warmth or spiritual warmth. So let's attune to this quality of kind of a blending of emotional and spiritual warmth through the internal space of our chest. This doesn't have to be about anything or for anything. It can be just for you in this experience. Or you can think about just resting into this field. When I say field, I mean this diffuse experience of the quality of love. We can feel it distributed through our chest. We can also feel it kind of distributed through our whole body, or through the whole light bulb, we could say, right? We can feel it through the whole internal space of our body. Yeah, good. Spiritual and emotional warmth. Okay. There's another tone to this experience, which we could say is acceptance, right? Let's see if we can find that. These aren't things, so one principle here is that these aren't things that we have to use effort to create. We're feeling into something that's already part of this quality, okay? Quality of love. See if you can find a tone of acceptance. There's kind of a relaxedness and a natural, unassuming acceptance of what is. Good. Okay. Another feeling that we can experience here is a sense of abundance. Like, in the same way that we would never run out of intelligence, we can say that this quality of love per se is something that seemingly doesn't end, right? There's not like a defined amount of it. Let's see if we can find that sense of abundance. Like, this is something that we would never, at least in the way that we're feeling it now, it's something that we would never run out of. Let's see if we can find that sense of abundance. Good. Okay. Here's another quality that we can attune to. Tenderness. Quality of tenderness or softness. Like, there's not a sense of rigidity to this experience. There's a softness, there's a power to it, but there's also a softness and a sense of tenderness. Let's see if we can feel that. By tenderness, I mean a type of gentleness to it. It's not rigid, it's not demanding, it's not imposing in any way. There's a power to it, potency to it, but there's also a gentleness. Good. Okay. So these are just a few of the qualities that we can experience within this overall quality of love. And these attunements are little exercises that can just get us warmed up to this. Okay, so let's find this quality of love again through the internal space of our chest. One thing about this, so we can certainly feel love through our chest. That's generally where we feel it, and it's even embedded in our language. When we feel hurt by something that somebody did, we say, well, I have a broken heart. We don't say I have a broken right pinky finger, right? So it's embedded in our language. At the same time, we can feel this feeling or tone or quality of love through our whole being, through our whole body all at once. So let's feel into where we experience this little spark of love in our chest, right? Really deep within. So let's find the deepest part of that. And this seems to be somewhere towards the inner part of the spine, pretty deep in there, okay? Let's find that. Just find where the source of this quality of love is, okay? And let's begin to just rest into that. And as we rest into it, we can feel it radiating through our whole body. And all we have to do is relax. All we have to do is relax into it. We can feel it radiating through our whole body at once. Let's take a minute to do that. One little pointer that can help us stabilize into this experience a bit more deeply is as follows. When we're attuning to the quality of love, it's love plus nothing and minus nothing, right? So we're not leaving anything out. We're not adding anything to it either. What that means is that sometimes when we're feeling into this, we can have these ongoing thoughts of like, well, am I doing this good enough? Or, well, I can't feel love for that. Or, our mind will start to go on. We'll start to continue with whatever campaign it's currently engaged in. And one thing that we can start to feel into is our intent, right? When we're meditating, and you can apply this to any meditation technique that you already do, one thing that can really help us relax is feeling into our own intent and the willfulness that's even there in the background unconsciously all the time, where we're making demands upon ourselves. Maybe we're making mental demands upon others in some cases, making demands upon reality. But so for instance, right, if I were to just narrate an example inner monologue, okay, I'm experiencing the quality of love. Okay, but I'm a little uncomfortable here. Oh, I can feel some tension in my body. Okay, so a lot of times when we feel tension in our body, it's because of some sort of, we're focusing in a little bit too rigid of a way, or our intent, circling back to that notion of intent, is trying to do something. We're trying to solve a problem. We're trying to make something happen in this particular moment. And while we're meditating, we can just meditate. We can just relax, give ourselves permission to relax. And then after meditation, we can come back to whatever problem we're facing or problem we're dealing with, and we can be renewed. A lot of times we can have new insight or kind of renewed ideas as a result of being able to relax for a little while, right? Similar to sleep, right? If we stayed up and deprived ourselves of sleep for a whole week, we would become psychotic. That would not be a good experience. Same thing if you deprive anybody of love for too long, that's going to make them sick. That's why there's so much sickness in the world. And so if we want to take that in the opposite direction, right, in the direction of healing, let's feel that experience as much as we can, express it, feel it, to whatever degree that we can. And in meditation, a perfect way to experience the quality of love. Okay, so just going back to this notion of intent, right? So experiencing the quality of love. Oh yeah, there's that problem in my life, and oh yeah, and I've got to solve that. Okay, so we can feel the intent, right? Kind of going like that, like, I need to solve that. And we can relax bit by bit, just give ourselves permission just for this exercise to relax the rigidness of that intent, or the kind of imposing quality of that intent, any of the demands, and really just relax that intent just for now, just down to being present. So down to nothing at all except for being present. Another little aspect of this is focus. Now, I distinguish between intent and focus because focus has a real physical quality to it, right? And so we can make our focus more gentle. So for instance, okay, I can feel the quality of love, but yeah, there's that constriction in my body, and that constriction has bothered me for so long, and this is just a bad feeling. Okay, so as we do that, we start to tense up just by our own, not even verbal monologue, but there's some sort of self-conscious loop that we get into where our mind-body system is trying to solve a problem, our mind is trying to solve a problem, and so we can just allow that gripping, that grip of focus to relax. The mental gripping of focus, we can allow it to relax. Okay, well, look, even though this part of my body is a little bit tense, or it feels this kind of uncomfortable feeling, can I allow the quality of love to even touch into that, right? And then as we do that, we might feel some of that tension or constriction in the body. We might feel it release through our breath. If we can relax to a deep enough point and really settle, we can feel some of that tension release through our breath. Sometimes the tension just comes up and out, right? There's a whole variety of ways in which tension can release from our body, and sometimes it just releases up and out. Okay. Good. So in this exercise, so let's just recap what we've done so far. Number one, first exercise that we did, we felt presence, right? The distinction between awareness of versus presence through, being present through the internal space of our body. The second exercise, we demonstrated how resting our focus in different areas of our body in different ways, and resting our focus in different ways, or the way that we hold our focus determines how we experience the world. And so just by resting our focus back there in the back part of our brain, we were able to experience that sense of stillness. Third exercise is a demonstration of qualities and how we feel them distributed through the body. So we were able to attune to the internal space of our chest, and we were able to feel this feeling tone or emotional tone of love that is in the deep core of our chest, but also we can feel it distributed through our whole chest. We can feel it distributed through our whole body. These last few minutes here, I was going to teach you another little trick that you can do. And this is something that you can apply to whatever meditation practice you do already. And it's this, right? So in addition to relaxing our intent, relaxing our focus, we can also enhance whatever meditation practice we're doing, even if it's just focusing on the breath, or even if it's mindfulness of some sort. We can enhance those practices by feeling into what feels pleasurable about those experiences. So with realization process, right, when we're attuning to that quality of love, there's also a sense of pleasure that arises with that. Okay, so let's find this for a minute. Find the quality of love in your chest. If you need to imagine the cute animal again, or loved one in your family, you can do that. Okay, and let the image go. Good. All right. Now, can you feel that there's something intrinsically pleasurable about this feeling? Just take a minute to notice that. So attuning to love and just feeling how that feels good. Very simple. And we can allow these feelings of pleasure to help us sink deeper into the feeling, so we can feel a mixture of love and pleasure or delight at the same time. Sometimes, and this is just a way to help you focus, right? We can feel a quality, if we bring our presence here to the upper part of our chest, this seems to be associated to delight. And I say that, let's just hold that lightly for a minute, and let me just explain. So when different schools of thinking talk about energy points or chakra points, right? What they're saying is that, in my view, what they're talking about is the fact that we can feel different points of concentration of vitality or aliveness in different parts of our body, and that those points of felt aliveness, again, I don't know if they have to do with any specific organs or not, but the point is that those points of aliveness, for instance, the center of the chest, they seem to be more associated to certain qualities than others. With that said, we can feel the quality of love through our whole being. Sometimes, in realization process, our quality of power is associated to our midsection. And so if we attune to our, let's do this for a second. Let's find the internal space of our midsection. Okay. And see if you can find a quality of power that lives there. By power, we're talking about good power, healthy, balanced sense of power. Not talking about being imposing or domineering or anything like that, but think about the power of an oak tree or a bonfire or something from nature, like an elephant, something that just a good elemental placeholder for this sense of power. Okay. And does that quality of power feel pleasurable? So this is a little enhancement that we can do. All right. But you might notice that when you attune to this quality of power, there's something in your midsection that lights up. And we can, of course, just the same as we do the quality of love, we can feel the quality of power distributed through our whole being, our whole body all at once. But certain areas of our body seem to be associated more to different sensations or qualities. And when we're talking about chakra points or energy points, that's, in my view, all that really refers to. There is also, and we can save this for a later class. There's also a sense of a very fine channel or slender current of energy that comes up through the center line of the body. So if you were to think about a line, the straight line, not the spine, because the spine is on a curve, but a straight line that goes through the center of the top of the head down to the center of the bottom of our torso. And so if you think about that point that we found between our ears, right? If we line that up with the space that's behind our lungs, and we line the space behind our lungs up with the deep core of the pelvis, if we line all those spaces up, we can kind of feel an openness through the core of our body, a sense of balance. And this sense of balance that we can feel through the deep core of our body, that could be an entryway into this space of stillness, the space of fundamental consciousness, which again has those qualities of openness, rootedness, love, and awareness. Right? And we could say stillness, emptiness, beingness, all of that, and inner peace. Or we could say that is the root point of any sense of inner peace, that stable source point of beingness or consciousness that is beneath the movements of the mind, yet feels like it's the source of all of them, or it's the root point or source point of all of them. Okay, so I know I've just talked for a bit. So let's just circle back for a minute. So sense of quality of love, right? We can feel that through the internal space of the chest, And that point seems to be down here, right? At least that's where it is for me. And when we're attuning to our quality of pleasure or delight, that seems to be a bit more up here. We can feel it through our whole chest, of course, but it seems to be a little bit more up here. And sometimes we can use these points of focus on the body to help us feel these experiences a little bit more. Okay, so let's find the quality of love once more. Good. And to help us sink into it a bit, let's feel how good it feels to experience that quality and to just give ourselves permission for it to feel that good. And sometimes we have associations with things that feel good being bad, but let's just allow ourselves to feel this as something that's intrinsically good, right? Something that would help the world if there were more of it around. Good. Okay. And relax. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this. If you want to get in touch with me, you can feel free to write to me at michael@realizationconsulting.com. I also do a class on Wednesday nights at 6:30. This class was scheduled to be at the Ipswich Town Hall, but due to COVID-19, it's now available via Zoom. But if you want to be able to watch this class on Zoom on Wednesday nights at 6:30, you can write me at michael@realizationconsulting.com. You can also go to my website, realizationconsulting.com, and sign up for the newsletter. Thank you so much.